Hey everyone! This video was intended to briefly explain the eras of antique jewelry, to help you identify the periods of pieces at estate sales or within your personal collection. I've had an obsession with collecting antique jewelry for years now, so I'm very excited to make this video. With that out of the way, there are 6 generally accepted eras of antique jewelry. Georgian, from 1714 to 1835, Victorian, from 1840 to 1890, Art Nouveau, which began around 1895 and ended in 1910, and this period coincided with the Edwardian period, which began in 1900 and ended around the start of World War I, the Art Deco period from 1920 to 1935, and finally, Retro, from 1935 to 1950. Alright, let's kick it off with the Georgian era, which is named after the 4 King Georges of England and spanned over 120 years, from 1714 to 1835. Up until the French Revolution in the 1790s, this style was epitomized by opulent monarchs such as Marie Antoinette, who wore ornate, heavy pieces composed of large jewels with a striking regality. After the Revolution, the design began to become less complex, as the Industrial Revolution would begin allowing those besides the obscenely wealthy to possess fine jewelry. The female protagonists of Jane Austen novels are superb examples of who would possess these more stripped down as opposed to heavy and opulent pieces. Throughout the entire era, however, colored gems were favored, and both gold and silver tones were used. Despite the lavishness of jewelry from this age, you might notice that the pieces were made with relatively rudimentary processes, such as the use of rub-over bezels, where the metal is literally folded over the gemstone to keep it in place. Cluster settings were often used to create a more elegant item, especially in earrings and rings. Portraits of eyes were common, like I found these 3 examples really easily, as were Rococo crosses. Earrings were huge, the size of people's ears, and were probably very painful to wear. So that's the Georgian era. Up next is the Victorian era, which, due to the Industrial Revolution, was a prolific time for the manufacturing of fine jewelry. Named after Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom, this period is rife with sentimentality and diversity. The Victorians were a superstitious and passionate people, and their jewelry reflects that. Good luck charms, like horseshoes, were popular motifs, and gold lockets were popular gifts from loved ones. Human hair was even incorporated into some pieces, to keep a piece of a child or spouse close by. Domestic pets, mostly dogs but sometimes cats and horses, were memorialized in portrait after their deaths. Since the middle class began to emerge in the mid-19th century, you can see a vast diversity in the designs of Victorian jewelry. Queens and ladies wore massive bohemian garnet necklaces, while working-class seamstresses and maids wore small lockets on thin chains. In the first half of the era, revival styles were most popular, including designs from Egyptian and Greek antiquity, the Renaissance, and the Gothic epoch. When Prince Albert died, Queen Victoria went into mourning, thus popularizing gold and black combinations, which mostly featured onyx on yellow gold. Gold metal with rich, brightly colored stones dominated the beginning of the era, while the turn of the century saw a resurgence of silver, pearl, and diamond. Now onto the Art Nouveau era, which marks the transition from Victorian to Edwardian jewelry, while still being a very unique period in its own right. Art Nouveau jewelry was designed as a backlash to the rigid designs and machine production of Victorian jewelry, and features mostly natural or fantastical motifs, such as dragonflies, butterflies, flowers, dragons, and women with free, flowing hair. The colors tend to be pastel, almost like those of a watercolor painting, and enamel was used very frequently to create dreamy portraits of the natural world. Additionally, many rings and pendants incorporated delicate scrollwork to convey a feeling of romanticism. You might find that many pieces, especially brooches, were made of cheaper metals, but yellow and white gold were still the metals of choice for high-end items. When Queen Victoria passed away in 1901, her son, Edward VII, took the throne, ushering in a brief but beautiful period of dazzling opulence that would end on the battlefields of the First World War. This period is very easily distinguished by its use of platinum metal paired with pearls and diamonds. Very little jewelry before the first decade of the 20th century even used platinum in the first place. Due to the strength of this metal, an airier, more feminine framework was made possible, as this was an era of refined delicacy. If you're a fan of Downton Abbey like me, The first season encapsulates this design style flawlessly, as does the character of Rose from Titanic. Festoon necklaces were also popular in this epoch, as the necklines of dinner dresses sunk to accommodate the era's stunning jewelry. Only 2 more to go. Art Deco is the spirit of 1920s excess. In other words, it's Gatsby. The Jazz Age brought color back into jewelry, as brightly colored gemstones like emerald and sapphire were paired with the platinum settings and diamond accents of the Edwardian epoch. Geometry became the prominent design feature, in lieu of the romanticism of the previous 3 periods. Gems were cut as rigid squares, triangles, rectangles, or even octagons, and the dramatic increase in American wealth after World War I saw the pricey rocks grow larger than ever before. Long flapper necklaces and sleek, thin bracelets were all the rage, while yellow gold was considered strictly out of style. Keep your eyes peeled for exceptionally popular stones of the era, such as aquamarine, onyx, green emerald, blue sapphire, and of course, diamonds. If the first season of Downton Abbey was Edwardian, then the last few were decidedly Art Deco. Finally, we're on to the last era of antique jewelry, retro, which covers the jewelry styles of the 1940s and 1950s. When I think of retro, I think of the glamorous jewelry flaunted by golden era stars like Lauren Bacall, Liz Taylor, and Marilyn Monroe. This is the era of the bold, the chunky, and the gold. Rose and yellow gold dominated the market due to platinum's scarcity during World War II, and lean times called for jewelry that decreased in price yet grew in size. This meant that bright but inexpensive stones, such as citrines, topazes, and tourmalines were popular, while diamonds were relegated to accents. Cabochon cuts were popular on cocktail rings for a chic, modern look, and quirky, chunky charm bracelets became trendy for middle-class women. More ladies in the workforce meant that jewelry, along with fashion, adopted a stronger profile. That was a super brief intro to the ages of antique jewelry, and I wish I could have included more info. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or send us a message. Antique jewelry is my life, and I'd love to help others find out more about it. All jewelry photos are from the 3 Graces at www.georgianjewelry.com, a site I really recommend for antique jewelry education and shopping. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.